Hello, everybody. This is Phil. I'm doing a quick video about quote unquote a loadout. And I don't get into too much of the technical things. I want to go to the range more often and trust in my battle weapons. Okay, there's a lot of talk on YouTube. What is a loadout? What is your main battle weapon? All these cool terms. And I don't knock that per se, as long as the new person can start to understand what the lingo means. So I do layaway a lot to get more expensive rifles or weapons that I would probably use in a city or more in a street kind of capacity if I had to eliminate a threat. I think of AR pistols, I think of AR 15s. I'm looking into a 308 or 306. I think it's a 308, the original 7.62 round that will go out further distances between anywhere from 600 to 1,000 meters. I'm not sure of all the logistics, but I love rifles and seeing what they can do. The problem is deploying an AR 15. I know tactical conditions where I could be very safe with it, know how to deploy it in a mass casualty, mass shooting situation. I have before, and but with a Glock. But I think of the AR-15. I think of my training in the military and how to deploy that. Doing mount training throughout my 8 years of the National Guard, and I think about deploying that in a typical ISIS situation, okay, mass shooting, mass casualty situation where there might be one shooter, there might be two shooters, there might be three. And our head needs to be on a swivel in this day and age, especially since ISIS. And it's been proven over and over again. Obama basically financed terrorists that became ISIS, whether he intended that or not. That's what he did to destabilize the whole Middle East with the 8-nation plan. Okay, the 8-nation plan to destabilize the Middle East, all for oil pipelines. Dick Cheney thought of that, along with the Bushes. Okay, and Obama ended up funding terrorists. So when ISIS goes around and they get the jump on people and they go and they attack innocent unarmed people, that is my mindset. Okay, I've seen people open up and shoot on other people, 3 deep in a car before, shoot at 5 other unarmed people across the street. And all I had was my Glock and I deployed it. That was one of the many different times that I was blessed by God to walk away, and they drove off, shot to shit. And I know they ended up at the hospital. One of the individuals that was closest to my side of the vehicle was shot in the back and shot through the forearm where the bullet was sticking out underneath the skin. And they refused to remove the bullet and said, let it come out on its own, because they didn't want to do any more damage to him. It's a suture up the inside of his arm where the bullet went in. Long story short is I couldn't identify the guy except for a t-shirt. And the law of averages, the hospital being 3 minutes away and he showing up 3 minutes later, told me that was him. But in my heart, it was not enough to identify the guy. Luckily, my Glock was all I needed that day. But in other deployments, especially against vehicles, you want to make sure that you have a substantial round that can go through doors at the very least, windshields, and they don't deflect. A lot of our Glock 17 Hydroshocks in the 1990s shattered once they hit the windshield. And the windshield is still there in one piece, but it has a little pop shatter mark right here. And the bullet was just sticking there. I know about that too firsthand because I was almost ran over before. So you want power to go through car doors if that car is a threat to you and they're using the car as a threat, and perhaps supersede or pass. I don't want to say the engine block. That's not going to happen with any 9mm or AR-15 round, 5.56 or .223. But if you can get to the windshield and you can get to the doors, especially if they're shooting at you back, you want something more formidable like a 5.56 NATO or a 223 Remington. So people talk about loadouts and they go through these descriptions of their builds, another word, and they talk about all the different parts they get from different companies. And excuse me, I'm kind of the mindset I want an original product that is tried and true. It is bare basic original. I can sell it to someone and know exactly what I'm telling them, and they know exactly what I'm explaining to them. Builds are nice, don't get me wrong, and I might buy one from someone, especially if they're reputable and this weapon has been proven to be substantial and work every single time. So a lot of my videos, I find gems when I'm out there looking at things, and some things I wouldn't buy until I see the price lower. And some things I wouldn't buy at all because it's just hoopla. It's just these words online. It's just the YouTube community of AR, ex-military, ex-police, or current police talking gun sense, okay? And I understand that, and I'm not into that clique. I'm kind of a lone wolf myself, and I never said I was the best shooter in the world. I am bare, basic, common sense. What works, works. Use it to your advantage in any attack situation where you need to defend yourself. I cringe thinking about attacking other enemies with a lot of knowledge I do know about weapons. And that's not the mindset I want to have as a Christian unless it is unfortunately a domestic war. And it's going to be bloody if that's the case. And whether I die or not, I believe I'm going to die for the Constitution and not violate any laws other than protecting the Constitution. And if I die, so be it. I'm willing to die for my country. And most patriots are. However, I do not think of this as assault. When you're thinking of defending your country, I think of it as self-defense in particular. Phrases and words matter. But anyways, I'm not in this clique about the AR clubs, you know, the 308 or the 300 blackout. What is it, the 300 AC blackout? Because I like the AR-15. I know what it can do, and it's basic, bare bottom, what I need to get a job done, along with formidable, everyday carry service weapon on my side, not down my pancreas in front. They call pancreas carry, and not pointed at my nuts, not pointed underneath my armpits that could shoot off half my tit, and not trying to be a tactful. If you think I'm a tactful or I talk crap, I can back it up based on experience, but I don't have the lingo to fit in with you guys. I'm sorry, I don't. I welcome all gun knowledge, and I review YouTube almost every day, something else I learn, and I love the gun community. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I am not in the AR cliques, and I am not looking for that rad, throw together AR-15 that is probably badass. It could probably harm a lot of people or defend a lot of people. In any event, I look for things that work, like the M&P 15. I've had my M&P 15, and I had it in pawn for 1 year, but I fired it many times, and I know without a forward assist or what have you, it's basically, they call it a sport. It's not a sport rifle. It is a defend your ass and family estate rifle that works every single time I will trust my life in. I live in Virginia, so I look for a regular AR-15 for those parameters. Protect my ass, protect my family, and protect my estate around there within perhaps 100 yards. Okay? An AR-15 can do much more damage out to 300, 400, 500, 600 yards if you know what you're doing. I believe in a red dot sight. I believe there's a place for that. However, I always want to train with 2 sights. Iron sights, and that's it. That's how I was trained since the 1980s. That's how I'm going to go out of this world. Line up, bam, engage. Okay? So I also think of AR pistols for more maneuverability. What is my car truck gun? More terminology. And that's something I had to pick up on, like truck gun. Oh my God, truck gun. Okay. That's what the hell does that mean exactly? Truck gun. Most people have trucks. I don't have a truck. I've always had cars. I had my Ford Expedition at one time for 3, 4 years. Oh, that kind of truck? No, it's your vehicle gun that you can easily deploy. So I think of AR pistols. And then I start researching more after having the X-Star 556, or I believe it was the X-Star 556, when it first came out, and I was lucky to get one, and then I sold it. And I used that. It was so super loud, but I loved that it was super light. I was like, when can I get another AR-15 like that? Because I can't get any X-Star pistols. I have one AR pistol I train with now, and I want another one that's super light to have somewhere in the house. Something, because I'm researching this, where I know the velocities come much down from 3,000 to about 2,000 and change, 2,100, 2,200 feet per second. A small 22 round going in, dissipating all its energy in one torso, and hopefully not going through in an apartment situation or a house situation to other rooms that I might injure other people. So I don't want an AR-15 specifically 16-inch barrel, very long barrel. So I'm thinking, oh, 7.5 is what I want. So I got an AR-15 before, and I was like, okay, started practicing on it. And I love what it does. Still loud rapport, still loud boom boom, and make sure that you have plenty, when you are training, plenty of ear protection. 2 earplugs, maybe ear mugs. When I do AR pistols, that's how I try to train, at least, so I don't get a headache by the end of the day. So I'm thinking, when is X-Star going to be able to start selling in mass the X-Star 556? And it's like, I haven't seen anything about it. So they got the X-Star 9mm out there, and I'm like, wow, that's cool, because I love 9mm concepts. But for the AR-15 and a round that is very small and the size of a 22 caliber, going at such velocities and going through sheets of metal and dissipating all its energy into the threat to end the threat, what would I use for going to war in more of a street-like battle where I'm not going to be wielding my AR-15 all about? Okay, and I got to put it down all the time so I don't accidentally offend someone when it's kind of pointed at them. I want a nice sling, and I want my AR pistol, and I want a loadout that makes sense. Okay, I'm not going to be wearing military garb. I'm not going to be wearing vests all over with all kinds of stuff stuck on it. Gloves, first aid kits, extra ammo magazines, okay, knives, looking like I'm fucking Rambo. I'm not fucking Rambo. That was my nickname on the force too, on top of being radar. So anyways, I go look for gems and I go look for what works. And I saw something from Bushmaster, and I was like, man, they were really expensive back then. And I kind of got taken on this sale that I purchased, this Bushmaster. To be honest with you, it was layaway, and I didn't know they were cheaper. This AR pistol called the Carbon 15 for $400 to $500 brand new. And at this local store I went to, who I'm not going to give any kind of credence to, it was $890 something. So I put money down, and the reason why they let me extend it when I bought my rigger, I just found out yesterday, because they're not that expensive. But this was basically a tag. Their tag said $800 and some odd dollars. Anyways, live and learn. I ate it, but it took me 2 months to pay off. So I looked at it, and I did more research on it, and they said half of the Bushmaster Carbon 15 Most of this is made out of carbon fiber material that feels like a light metal and kind of hard plastic. And I was thinking about my loadout. I didn't put my patented 550 cord on here so I could just sling it around. Okay. And this is loaded, ready to go in the house should I choose to use it against someone breaking into my house. It is on safe. So I'm going to disarm it at this time and show you some of my loadout, quote unquote loadout. 40 round magazine. I forgot how much these cost, basically $21, I believe. These green ones, I don't know if you can see it, they're military OD green. They work really great in my other AR pistol. So, remove the magazine, pull the charging handle to the rear. One round came out. Inspect the chamber. Nothing in there. This is my carbon 15, and I've heard good and bad about this being so light. I know this is going to make a big rapport and a big boom boom when I go to fire. Straight up fire, using my 550 cord, the length of my arms, where I can see rear and front sights and line up a target. Easy to deploy, easily put down, and I have a round that's coming out at basically 2,000 feet per second that can still penetrate multiple ISIS, and I can engage multiple ISIS who are running around killing innocent people. However, when I think about being a tactical fool or a tactical fool, I think about what people are missing. Okay, when they show these training courses, they show them going behind barricades and what have you. And I love that because that's more realistic training, and that's how you have to think. You have to keep your head on the swivel. You have to remember what you just passed behind you if you're not looking over behind your shoulder every 5 seconds. You have to have the gumption, the education in your mind to remember how to plan out and map out everywhere you walk. If you train every day in your mind like police officers should train for their own safety, what's to their side? What other avenues can you not see to the side, but you know that from experience they are there, and if something comes from the side, how fast could you react? Okay, head on a swivel, hearing everything. People underestimate this in their training. Excuse me. What do they hear down the road? What do they hear behind them after they just left a group of people? Or they're passing through cars. Do they hear something, scattering on the blacktop that sounds like feet shuffling, and they're getting closer to you? You have a right to turn around and look, head on a swivel. Who is that? Am I getting robbed by an everyday criminal? Okay. Or is this ISIS? Or who is this that has something for me that is not good? Then you react accordingly. You provide your weapon and you engage depending on what the threat level is. Where your bodily injury is imminent and your death is imminent. That's the only way you can deploy a weapon. Okay? Someone comes at you trash talking you, that's no reason to pull out your weapon and engage that person. Okay? Two people come over and they act like they're going to gank you, and then they start making furtive motions like they're going to attack you. Yes, because your bodily well-being is being threatened. Okay? And bam, take out one person, the other guy runs, and he becomes a witness to his own trial that they were going to do you serious bodily injury and harm or kill you just for a wallet. In the day of Antifa and Black Lives Matter, these are the ways you have to think. head on a swivel. What is a threat? What am I going to do to get out of there? Possibly not harm anyone in my self-defense, but what am I going to do to defend myself and then get out of there? How am I going to react when the police come? Okay? Hands up. Your gun is on your side. Hands up. No, that guy over there. That guy over there. Verbally talking to them while they're telling you what to do also. Not reaching for a darn thing. Okay? So they don't shoot you thinking you're the bad guy and all these citizens are around looking at you. That's him, that's him, that's him. And you're like, no, that guy robbed me. That guy robbed me. Showing the palms of your hand. Okay? Tentative hand signal. Do these people know that? What a tentative hand signal is? A tentative hand signal is for all those professional tough guys out there, like the police, like the military, like the soldiers, okay? And agents, okay? When they are involved in a shooting or some kind of use of force, something, and other officials come, and they are coming with their guns drawn, they don't shoot you because you have a hand signal. They don't teach you all that because you're not a police officer, but it is a good idea to always show your hands. No reaching for the cell phone, no quick furtive actions that implicates you as a bad guy and not the guy on the ground that's dying because he messed with the wrong person. You. Anyways, talk about the loadout. 40 round magazines, whatever these cost. They might have been $26 at Cheaper Than Dirt. I gave a shout out to Cheaper Than Dirt because they always have inexpensive magazines if you just find them on the right day. Okay, that they can drop the prices almost all the time for AR-15 products, and they are very formidable. Their weapons are super expensive, however, and I refuse to buy ammo from them or guns from them until they get reasonable. They are not the end-all be-all of handguns and rifles and what have you. So I think of other places like keepshooting.com that has military surplus items that can help your loadout. Again, I'm not going to throw on a vest. I have a police vest I can wear right now when I'm deployed in a militia matter. That's what I'm going to call it right now. Where the police are our friends, and we knew we got their back too. And we are there to defend our city, our smaller rural communities. Okay? We are delegated to be sentries at certain locations to make sure that large groups of anti-American, basically murderers, don't want to come and start firebombing our houses. Okay? I can stand there for a long time with an AR-15 pistol and make sure my community is safe. I don't have to go out looking for war. But I'm saying in these situations where we're deployed as the militia with our local sheriff's department or military advisors that we trust that are constitutionalists, okay, there will be a time for posse comitatus. And they're going to be listening to us, most likely, and our sheriff leaders, our state leaders in uniform civilian attire. So I have one here. And then when I buy extra masks from keepshooting.com, I also buy extra masks, bandoliers that don't have the mask in them. They're just mask bags. Okay, I don't remember which country this is. Maybe we can find it. I wanted to say something like Poland or Hungary. You can load out with 6 additional magazines of 40. So that's 7 magazines of 40 throwing around your neck, and all of a sudden you're sworn in and deputized as the militia, the American militia protecting your community. And you'll know when the crap hits the fan because there's going to be all kinds of chaos going on. And what are you going to do to protect your community? This is what the Bushmaster came with. and I loaded it up just for GP, so they never get separated. And it's only a 30 rounder, and I don't like really the worn down color look to make it look all neat, but that came with it. I don't think it's original. And so I have a go to war weapon for street fighting, at least, at the very least. So I load up the AR pistol. I have a 40 round magazine, put one in the chamber on safe, 39 in the magazine, and that's what I'm using for my first engagement. If anybody looked at the Peshmerga in fortified situations, fighting ISIS coming up the hills and stuff, they went through probably each person probably close to 500 rounds to 1,000 rounds just shooting down the valley. So a whole barrage of ammo went down and started knocking them out because it was so far away. And you have to think of things like that. If you were in and you were behind cover and you were defending to the death, but you're trying to take out as many people as possible, how many magazines of 40 round magazines would you have ready that you can put on your back in a moment's notice with at least a police officer vest, maybe a helmet? Maybe you don't have a helmet. I do have a helmet, but it's not in my loadout. What I would do is, in an emergency situation, strap this on and deploy my AR pistol with the string around my neck the opposite side, ready gun, okay, or port basically downward, so I'm not engaging anybody that I know is not a threat that might see me also until I attack that threat directly. Using cover, concealment, okay, shoot, move, communicate. You might have to shoot a long distance before you can go to cover. And you might have to go to cover in concealment. Cover deflects the rounds. It deflects the threat. Concealment just means they can't see you. A car is not concealment unless you're behind the engine or behind that big transaxle and the tires. Or I'm sorry, not the tires at all. The wheels, the hubs, all that steel. That is some cover along with concealment, but it's not guaranteed. Okay, 50 caliber can go through a lot of engine blocks and cause a lot of damage and a lot of shrapnel going everywhere that can harm you and take you out of the game. Now, I saw one video yesterday, and a guy was talking about, deploying that AR-15, they might be 400, 500 yards down. I shoot, I know I'm getting the rounds near them. I made them think and stop shooting all their ammo at my guys. So it still worked. I stopped the threat temporarily, but I stopped the threat. Okay. That means him and his guys should get out of Dodge and seek even better cover and concealment. Okay? That's why we practice engagement. In military, elite military teams, they do this every day. Okay? They are going to encroach on you no matter what kind of Rambo guerrilla fighter you think you are. Anyways, you have to engage people regardless of who they are. Spetsnaz. Okay? Delta, the cream of the crop America has ever had. Delta. Okay? Sorry, Navy SEALs, just a step below that. Navy SEALs works with the data that Delta gives them. And the CIA on top of that. CIA has their own teams that work with Delta and everybody else combined to get their operation functioning and working. Okay? These guys are no joke. I'm proud to be an American with them. Don't get me wrong. The investigation part of some of these agencies, not so much. Anyways, your loadout, when people talk of your loadout and ready to go to war, what is it you want to accomplish? Are you going to be there in just a century? If you're going to be a sentry, you don't want to be a big target either, so you might be behind barricades. You might be behind cover and concealment And then you observe what's going on. And when something comes closer, then you interdict, you engage. This is my loadout. This is just my temporary in the apartment loadout if there's a national emergency. If there's the sheriff calling on all hands on deck to protect our communities. You know, I don't want to think of just harming other people with all the amounts of different NIMS and TIMS in Virginia, which is basically an acronym for something that if there's an emergency, who is activated federally, on a state level, on a local level, who is notified about everything, who is called in to handle the emergency. In Virginia, it's called NIMS and TIMS, Emergency Preparedness Plan. I think we work with the federal government to do that. Most likely, most states do that too. But let's say we're in a wartime situation and some states are just being overran. Even their state constitution and their state assembly is being overran by a terroristic group or fellow patriots who are not telling me anything that's going on. And we have to hunker down and we have to apply our own defense for our local communities, our local constabulatories, our local court systems, okay, our local services that help the elderly and the disabled. I would gladly be a sentry in my head on the swivel with my police officer knowledge and do that in a second. Do I want to sit there and lock up someone for disorderly conduct or shoot someone that's unarmed? No, I'm not going to do anything dumb like that. But if I am there for someone who is coming with masses of people to attack our way of life and totally disrupt our American way of life, I can be a sentry in a heartbeat and be that attack dog going backwards to repel them as a militia and working with community members of like-minded, let's say, perseverance. So, talk about loadout. Talk about all those nice things and talk about defending your country and what you're going to do. It's on safe. What you're going to do, how are you going to do it if you don't know how to do it? But we always talk about Rambo. We always talk about, now I'm back to 40 again. How are we going to do it if we don't have the right gear? How are we going to do it if we don't know what works? How are we going to do it if we're not psychologically sound to be the moral man? The moral man that is willing to call a spade and correct what has to be corrected. It's not judgment if you're actually correcting people for the well-being of God's children. It's not judgment. It's doing what he wants you to do also. And I don't mean some kind of crazy ass movie where, you know, whatever. Okay. We are entrusted there to help our communities with our knowledge of self-defense, being police officers, being ex-military or current military, being government agents, being stewards in the government that try to make sure that social services are working but not being fleeced by corruption. Even some politicians that are not corrupt that want to make sure the law as it is adhered to. How do we go about defending our community if we don't know? All those words don't help unless you give meaning to them. So let's not be part of the clique. Let's be part of the family of AR-15s, a family of battle rifles, battlefield guns, whatever it is we were really trained on when we took our oath. To me, it's the oath that matters more than anything. Do I want someone killed out of ignorance and innocence also because they didn't know how to use a gun and defending their community? No, but they were out there showing we will not be taken advantage of when our community is attacked. There's not enough people like that nowadays thinking like that. Like the old school America. Everybody had a .22 rifle at least in their pickup truck, or a shotgun also in their pickup truck. Let's get back to that. Let's make it our vehicle gun, not our truck gun. All right, guys, thank you. And what is your loadout? I'm interested in hearing anybody else's ideas. I research YouTube a lot, so I got a lot of input that is really awesome. I take to my training and I work on when I do get to shoot, and it's just not a 100-hour work week every week for months on end. And I thank you. I do many videos so when my sons start to get older, they can look back on them and they can also derive information from them in their own training, in their own mindset about self-defense. So I thank you guys. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your community, protect your state, and protect your God great United States. It's worth protecting, especially when you're armed. Thanks, guys. Take care.